We're going to get cracking in a moment, but before we do, this is an important announcement. The information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into account your personal situation. We don't guarantee the quality of the wine or the banter contained in this content. You should consider whether the information is appropriate for your needs and your daily intake. And where appropriate, seek professional advice from a financial advisor, accountant, bottle shop assistant, or relevant qualified professional. Matters referred to in this podcast are of general nature only, and for those of drinking age, and should not be relied upon in place of appropriate personal advice or the odd glass of wine on a Friday.
To make sure you get the most out of wealth, wine and wisdom, folks, please follow the house rules. Don't be a wallflower. Get involved in the chat. We love to have some questions, feedback, and a little bit of commentary along the way. You give us energy, we'll have a good time. Make sure you pour yourself a glass of something wet to wet the whistle. Make sure you get the banter flowing as well. Doesn't matter what you're drinking, whether it's wine, our favourite, beer, coffee, maybe it's a cup of tea, water, or even juice. Keep that good energy flowing, folks. There's some house rules. If you don't put your name down, we don't know who you are, you're not coming in. Don't spam or advertise. This is our little game of cricket. This is all about debriefing the week, folks. What's going on out there in the world, and hopefully get you some sanity, maybe a bit of a chuckle at the end of the week, so we can all be on the same page and keep moving forward. Make sure you respect your fellow patrons, because we don't let any old muck in this place. And most of all, have some fun and enjoy this episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Benton.
Whoa. I think I've lost audio. There
I can hear you. You might have you've slowed down a little bit, but we've got a few of the crew in the house, which is good. Alison, Mark, morning team. No, not morning. Gee, it's been a long morning. It's an afternoon. It's an afternoon. We've got some wine. It's afternoon. You did right, Alison. It's afternoon. Good stuff. Hey, welcome along. Good to see you. There's a bunch online right now. I think you're on twice, Fenton. I can see your smiley face twice. Are you going to share your screen? There you go. Beautiful. There you go. Nigel's in the house. Nigel, good to see you, mate. Rose, give us a shout out, crew. Who's listening? Great to see everyone. Last week we got a chance to come to you live from a pretty special place. That was a lot of fun,
mate. But, incredible. Happy 50th again,
mate. Well, there you go.
What a way to do it in the beautiful Aria penthouse overlooking Brisbane. Starting to become a little bit more fond of that city, mate. It was it's a beautiful affair. I've still got some paintball marks on the shoulder from a few of the 50th birthday presents.
Collected a few birds, did you?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, welcome along, folks. Let us know what you're partaking in this afternoon. Deb's got a little bit of Shiraz going on. What did I get, Fenton? I'm sticking with the old Levantine Hill. That's a bit of a fave at the moment.
Yeah, that's 100%. The old Levantine Hill Syrah.
Shout out to our sponsors, Levantine Hill. Yep, there you go.
Mate, absolute cracking drop. It's not a bad way to start a Friday.
Yeah, I love it. So, what's been going on, Benton? Let's do the intros for everyone out there, folks. You know, this is what we get up to on a Friday, and we're very grateful for you to join us, hang out with us, and chew the fat. We've been doing this since COVID. Andy from the world of financial planning, banking, business structuring, myself from the world of property and finance. COVID threw everyone for a spin, Fenton, and then, we needed to make sense of it. We jumped online, had a wine, thought we'd share some of the things that were going on, and it's hung around. So we like hanging out on Friday and talking about this stuff, and some of you do too. So thank you for joining us. Welcome along. Great to have you here with us today. What else have we got, Fenton? We've got a few things that we do on these get-togethers, don't we?
It's evolved over time. Well, so tonight's show will take you through the decant the week, which is our version of unbottling what's been going on in the world of media, finance, property, politicians, tax. Maybe share some things that actually didn't make the news.
Rant alert, for sure.
It's
coming.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, I'm fired up and ready to fire some bullets and cannonballs today. I can tell you, but, mate, it's actually what's not in the news, which is probably more disturbing, but slowly getting their way into the public. And so we'll decant the week, have a little bit of a look at what's been going on, things you may be aware about, maybe even answer some questions about some things that you're not so sure what it all means. And then we've got our perfect pairing, which is problem and solution. You know, we're all facing challenges out there. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, whack them in the chat, because we love to answer as many questions as we possibly can along the way. And inevitably, we'll find out who the number one menace is.
They've been in overdrive, Fenton. The number one menace. You and I had a bit of a dine out last week on it, but they're winding up.
Mate, we've got to have a look at the top 10. All right, the top 10 menaces. And I don't even think we'll be scratching the surface.
No.
But I have been doing a little bit more research into, the things that we were talking about last week. Mate, so it'll be a bit of a jam-packed session. I warning everybody in advance, there's going to be a lot of ranting. There's going to be a lot of ranting because I've done some calculations on my trusty little notepad over here, and mate, it's putting more money in one pocket and taking it from another pocket is kind of the theme of a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today.
This, yeah. Well, let's get into it, mate. I've got a little bit of something for decant the week for everyone, and maybe it's a little bit of maybe perfect pairing on the back of it. But let's kick off with that, because I think we'll dine out on number one menace and a bit of that pretty well for the whole show. But let's do a little bit of this in just a minute.
All right,
what's going on?
The week?
Decant the week. Well, let me. This is probably more than a week, Andy, but I think this is well worth having a good look at, folks, when it comes to the world of the property industry. And Andy, I've been talking about this for a while, but some of this data is showing up right now. A good article that came out, a good conversation came out last week on, Australia. Check this out. We had a record, housing, housing approvals. I don't know if everyone can see this. Tell me if you can see this clear enough, Andy. We had a housing approvals boom in the 2020, 2021 section of the Australian marketplace. But over and above, something that was quite regular. But the conversation is, where did all those houses go, Andy? Where did all these houses go? 26,000 homes were meant to be built.
Jeepers. Where'd they go? Are they missing?
Where did they go? They've gone missing. All right. They've gone missing.
This is kind of like the China debate, isn't it? Where they seem to they lost 500 million people, and that's fucking hard to do.
Where did all these houses go? There's a good question. Well, folks, I did a bit of research this week, and Andy, significant builders that have gone bust or broke. Folks, how many significant builders in Australia have gone bust or broke? House builders, by the way, housing builders, by the way, have gone broke or been liquidated in the last 2 years. So it really didn't show up in 2020. It really showed up in 21, 22, and kind of 23. So chuck that in the chat. How many?
So, what do you mean by significant? I'm a stickler for terms. When I hear a word like that, I'm always going, okay.
not an old mate who builds one house a year, right?
Right. Right.
People like builders who provide significant volume to the market and significance 100 houses or more per year to the market. Okay. Some of
Okay.
them
Right.
were, probably 500 to 1,000 houses a year, and some were 100. What happened to these 26,000 houses, folks? Way more than a few cartons of wine right now. So significant. So as of just the other day, Andy, there are 23 housing construction companies across Australia. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but guess how many projects? So projects, which can mean multiple projects and construction jobs underway. Well over 5,000 construction projects, which includes individual houses and other things. Well over
Wow.
5,000 have been
Wow.
affected, not to mention well over 25,000, Andy, creditors, right? That means small individual, plumbers and all sorts of stuff, right? Yep, there you go. So
Wow.
what happened to those 26,000 homes, folks? Well, that's what's happening right now. Um, not only have we, we have navigated or trying to navigate one of the worst supply chain issues, we've ever seen in Australia's recent history when it comes to construction. We have had significant increase in the cost of money as well, where lenders and borrowers actually are struggling to complete or even start those projects as well, Andy. So on one side, the builders can't complete them, and on the other side, people can't get the funding that they bought them with to begin with, right? So we've had 9 straight consecutive interest rate rises, and that has adjusted borrowing power massively significantly. So what does that mean? Let's just have a quick look at this. Let's have the one that I like is this one over here. When you have a look,
Let me just whack a timeline on this, Jace, as you're finding it. So, so the government in 2021 decided to create a massive amount of stimulus to purchase new houses.
yeah,
In amidst a time where the cost of construction was flying through the roof because we couldn't get anything.
yeah,
So they gave huge incentives for people to go out and buy more houses that were going to be built at the highest prices ever,
yeah.
where interest rates were at the lowest point ever. So the interest rates could only go in one direction, which is up. Am I on track so far?
You are doing a pretty good job of it, Andy.
Okay, so I just wanted to get that because something's not really making a huge amount of sense to me right now as to some of the decisions retrospectively. But keep on going. I'll piece it together. I'll figure it out in the end.
Let's say we have a look at, let's say, the last 20 years, right? 23 years. Australia's ability to build houses, like, have a look at that, Andy. Like in trend terms, you can put a box around that every day of the week, right?
Yep.
This is how many houses we're capable of building. That's it. That's it, right? So, and when you go ahead and spike the dwellings, the approvals, right? By at a minimum, and this is kind of the approval kind of line, right? The approval kind of line. If you go ahead and like push approvals 20 to 30% higher than we have had in over a decade, when probably well more, right? How are you going to build them, Andy? In the middle of a supply chain disaster, we've never built that many houses before in one financial year. Yeah, dead right, Alison. We just weren't capable of it. I don't know. Like, again, we've got some of our, friendlies, well, not so friendlies, our number one menaces that we sort of talk about going, did they even have any thoughts here? And You and I are
I
going to dine out on this one, right? But
I think there's a great ping pong ball that's bouncing around a few craniums out there, Jace.
yeah.
Really,
So 163 dwellings shortfall by 2032. Well, I think that's well under
163,000
thousand dwellings shortfall, right? Now, I think that's way too low, to be honest. But we are already at record disaster, folks. Record disaster. Fenton, there's records everywhere. We've been talking about records for years. It's not Elvis records, right?
No.
What
Although
is
they
going
sound
on?
good.
Mate, it's crazy. So for me, folks, right now, what is going on? The house market has got a real issue, and we've got a massive undersupply issue. The gap of actual completions versus expected completions is huge, and it's not going to get any better. What does that mean for us, Fenton? How do we pigeon pair that? Well, folks, I'm very one-eyed when it comes to property investing, that is for sure. But I can tell you right now, if you get yourself a good bit of real estate, I think you're gonna do all right into the future, Fenton. I think you're gonna be in the driver's seat. Rents are gonna go up significantly. Already they have risen, the largest annual rises in rents we have ever seen in Australia's history in the last 2 years. It's not going to stop anytime soon. There is zero chance. Fenton, tell me, how is it possible in any way, shape, or form to supply the market with enough real estate from today? Folks, tell me in the chat. This is kind of like tell me, what do you think? From a record low supply right now, how long would it take, even if we could, to fix a record low problem, considering two things? Number one, we've just opened the gates for people to come back into Australia. Yep. And I reckon you're dead right, Jules. Jules, you read in my mind. I think it's going to be a 10-year problem. A 10-year problem. Yep. And Hardick, I think you're right, actually, Hardick. And this is kind of and there's going to be some legislation issues, Fenton. And I think we're going to sort of dine out on this in a minute, right? We're going to talk about this.
Well, but one thing that nobody's said yet, and maybe we've all just lost faith on it, is what about this funny thing called fiscal policy?
What's that, Andy? What happens there?
It's kind of like nobody talks about it anymore. It's like this is where you take money. Like if we just treat Australia as a business, and Australia is basically, it's the biggest business that you can run in Australia. But Australia is a business, effectively. Yeah. And if you go, well, let's run it like a business, and let's take money. And when I say take money, I'm legitimately meaning take money, because where do they take money from? Just put it in the chat. Love to see that lighted up. Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about here, because they don't take too much from themselves. They give themselves a lot of tax breaks, I can tell you. Even 2 houses tax-free. Unbelievable. I've forgotten who we told that to the other week, and they're like, what? Get out of town. 100%.
That's why me and Fenton are starting the wine.
The small business party.
The small business party. Yeah, because we want some extra capital gains tax-free houses. But like, folks, listen up. Like, this stuff is, it's crazy. Yeah.
And so here's the things that the governments of old used to take money, and I think it's great. Money should circulate. It shouldn't be stolen, but it should circulate. and the effective circulation is where it gets taken, and then it perpetuates, right? You use that money to build something that makes more money, right? And then becomes valuable over time. It's like a child, you raise it and you try and bring it up the best as you can, and its brain gets sponges more information, and then hopefully there's a chance that child will go out and provide more happiness, wealth, whatever into the world, but just contribute to society in some sort of meaningful way. So let's just look at we call it the bare ass minimum in wealth, Jace. And we should have a bare ass minimum in politics, and I think, and it should be to contribute to the benefit of society in some way, right? Benefit of society in some way. I, keep.
But Andy, me putting up the taxes and changing the rules every 5 minutes, doesn't that benefit society?
No, fuck. No, not even. But here's the thing: like, where was the last headline where somebody came out and said, "We're doing these amazing changes that are going to bring so much more money to Australia"? Well, I haven't even heard that conversation now for, I reckon, 2 or 3 years.
No,
We are launching this massive plan to bring more migrants into Australia, to bring technology into Australia, to take advantage of.
Let's improve the economy, whatever. No, it's not happening, is it?
No,
it's like,
let's
let's
dig it up, ship it out. China will save us by consuming the whole of WA.
Yep. Let's just pillage the people we got, because that's the easy move, right?
And it's always the easy move. But here's a compounding problem to your side, Jace. And here's a little bit of an interesting stat. I've crossed it out because I got it from somebody and I forgot to remove the logo. So, but the source data is from Bianco Research LLC US. So this is really interesting. The Fed has never stopped hiking rates before Fed funds are basically over the size of CPI, which basically.
So explain what that means. So I can keep up here. It's a little blurry, so maybe drill in a bit, like squidge in a bit. Yep.
So the Fed has never stopped raising interest rates.
Yes.
Right, until CPI is back in the range.
And the range is what, 3%, 2 to 3?
Yep. 2 to 3%. 2 to 4 at what used to be in Australia, so they haven't stopped doing it. So as a leading market measure, and like let's balance this out with what you're talking about. Rents are going up, and that's inflation. Yeah.
Right. Arguably,
that's inflation. That contributes to.
Well, is it, Andy? Is that inflation, or is that a function of? Is that a function of interest rates? Because this is an interesting thing, because interest rates went down, and by and large, as a ratio of property prices, rents and rental yields went down for over a decade, like slightly down. So we didn't have deflation and rents went down. Do you know what I mean?
Well, but this is slightly anomalous. But CPI or inflation is just the cost of living going up.
Yes.
So this function of interest rates rising, going into and I'll try.
Your slide's quite fuzzy for some reason, and I don't know if it's my end or anyone else's end. But Fenton, have you got a better internet?
I'm actually crushing it, but I might have to do a download and reboot. But
no, that looks a bit better. I can see it at least. Yeah.
So it's really the headline more so than the slide, because I could dine out on the slide and we might do it another night. But ultimately, what I wanted to point out here is that. For interest rates are not. It is unlikely that the Fed or the RBA are going to stop.
It's just a wine, Alison reckons.
I'm plugged into the matrix. It's unlikely that they are going to do this until they get the CPI within the band, right? And
so we drop the interest rates.
Drop interest rates.
Yeah.
Right. And the problem is that the increasing interest rates now are actually having a significant upward pressure on the cost of living for people who don't own houses, and for people, and because of the supply chain and the lack of available housing. Also, who caused that problem? I can tell you. I'll give you the answer about who it's not. It's not me and Jason. Right? We weren't the ones who did this. It was someone else. And generally, they look like cartoon caricatures in real life. They were the ones who didn't allow the approvals. They didn't have the foresight to be able to do this. So we've actually got this situation whereby you're going to have inflation on house prices, you're going to have inflation on rents, while inflation is out of control. And what they're doing is raising rates in order to curb inflation. Now, that doesn't make sense on any level, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't, because then it's kind of like it feeds itself. It gets out of control.
It's spiraling. So here's my big fear, Jace. My big fear is they go, shit, It's not working. It's not working. So firstly, what do? We go, well, it's his fault. So it's the Reserve Bank's fault. Yep, it's their fault. They're not doing it
scapegoat.
properly.
Yeah, he's done a bad job of it. Yeah. Hang on.
It's-
We gave away all this free money. We caused all of these problems, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. I'm getting wound up. I'm already getting wound up. And when did it start? When did it start, Fenton? It started before COVID. I'm telling you. Anyway,
Well before.
Don't get me fired up, folks. Anyway, go.
My big fear, and we've already seen it starting to happen, is not let's spend money in productive areas to build resources for the future.
Yep.
That would be crazy. We don't know how to do it. If they're to be fair income, they probably have no idea.
Mind-blowing, Fenton. Be mind-blowing.
No. Let's not do that. But they're going to go, well, how do we do this? What is the fiscal policy that we're going to deploy in order to be able to curb inflation, where interest rates at the moment are not going to the levels that they need to fast enough? And there's other couple of things, is that because the Fed and because the Reserve Bank are only targeting one thing, which basically is inflation. The Reserve Bank of Australia targets more than just inflation, but it's only nominal.
They're kind of one-dimensional, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, they've got one measure that they're looking at, and that's how they control it. So pointing the finger at them, going, "You fucked up." It's kind of like going, "Well, mate, I've got a hammer. That's all I'm allowed to do. I'm only allowed to use a hammer. How's about you guys go over there and do something productive for the economy to try and change what's going on?" They go, "Oh no, we won't do that. We'll just tax it." And so we'll tax it into slowing down. And that I think is such a prickly slope. And that's
so
what
you're
I think
saying, all right, well, this interest rate thing's not fast enough, so we'll tax them into submission.
Yep. And as a result, what'll end up happening is that potentially interest rates will overshoot.
Well, they've already overshot, Fenton. So right now, I mean, this is anyway. You keep going, because I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because the forecast is now sitting, depending on who you're looking at, but this is pretty much consensus now, as to to cut or not to cut. And so this is what the people in the know who think that. Well, let's call them economists. So they'll likely be wrong. But this is where most of the educated money is, right? Is that 2022, 23 is going to be a hiking season, and then sometime next year, interest rates will start to peel off. This is now making mainstream media. It's not hidden. I think in some ways, the more that people are educated about this can actually create problems itself, because people will really hold on. Really hold on, where potentially they should let go, but they might really hold on and even potentially double down and start spending, going, well, the rates are going to go back down, which then is what? It's inflationary.
It gets caught in the inflationary cycle. I think most people are going to feel the heat, but you might be right there. Yep.
There's a couple of great things that are happening, and I'm not sure if I showed these before, because it's been a big few weeks, I can tell you, in the household of Fenton. But one of the things that's real, and this is a big statistic here.
Oh, some of those slides are a little blurry for some reason, Fenton. I can't work it out why. The internet looks good on my end, but anyway, keep it rolling. Hopefully it tunes up a little.
Can you see the big red line there?
Yep, I can see the red line. The red line's very clear.
These are container shipping costs.
Oh, right? Yeah. You were talking about this the other day. I love that. I love it.
So what this means is, and now, Jace, you've been talking about it on Wealth Coffee Chats. I do chime in from time to time. And people are offering fixed price contracts again. Why?
Yes.
Because this dynamic here is what we'd consider to be, this transient inflation. Right. So you don't need to see the slides. It's container shipping costs.
Yeah.
Right. They went ballistic throughout COVID. They're now almost back to pre-COVID times. Yeah. And one would argue, like, if you were to put a sort of base inflation line across here from where they sat, because everything goes up over time. They're probably exactly where they would have been if COVID didn't happen.
Yeah. There you go.
So when we start to look at this, we go, okay, so there's an interesting dynamic that's at play now. We have got interest rates that are rising. They're going to rise. We all know that they're going up. We know whether there's a high probability that there's a rate cut that's going to be coming somewhere in the next 24 months.
Yep.
And to the extent, we don't know. We believe that the Reserve Bank won't start cutting interest rates until inflation figures get within their band, because they've never done it before. We know that builders are now able to build things back at cost and be able to have, a reasonable degree of certainty about producing those assets and getting them to market.
Yeah, the bigger ones have got like their forward book contracts. They've locked away numbers. Yep.
So there's some major positives which are grounded with some really shaky fundamentals which can't change. Right? Which can't change. And the things that can't change is you can't boost. And this is a big problem that I see in politics today. And it happened back in the days of Gough Whitlam. What does anybody know what actually caused the Great Depression? Is it the Great Depression? Oh, the big one after Gough. And telling you that it's Gough might give you a bit of a hint.
Shit, mate, I don't know if I'm that old, am I? But I could be. I'm older than you, so maybe I was paying zero attention.
No, mate, it's definitely in my history books.
Oh, it's in your history books.
It'd be interesting.
What's the question?
Well, what did he do? What did Gough do?
What did Gough Whitlam do?
Interest rates to go to 18%.
18%.
Because he sparked inflation like no tomorrow.
There you go. What did Gough Whitlam do, folks? There's the question. What did Gough Whitlam do that unleashed interest rates to go to 18%? And
allegedly. Just put allegedly, because this is my opinion. This is an opinion piece. It's grounded in fact.
Banana Republic.
God. That was Keating, wasn't it?
Something like that. Poor Keating.
Yeah, poor Keating. Yeah. God,
deregulated the banks? Deregulated?
No. He raised public servant salaries by 20% in a single year.
Oh, crikey.
So just pumped money into the economy by massive amounts. And it overstimulated. And so what I saw in your graph earlier on, Jace, is that big explosion in rather than a nice line that just slowly goes up.
Yeah.
Right. Because here's the thing: it's not quantum mechanics, is it? It's like we look at the census every year. Somebody says Jason had another child. We go, okay, there's a few more mouths to feed this year.
There's a few more people in the country. We better do something about it. Yeah.
We're going to have another 300,000 come into the country in immigration because we can control that, and we can say not one more than 300,000 can come in. We can't stop Jason breeding. That's out of our control, or me breeding. To be fair, but I'm not increasing the national average where Jason has. So, but
I've done mine: one for mum, one for dad, one for the country.
One for the country. But so there's this gradual approach, this skirmish style policy just doesn't work. And it's about the immediacy of effect. And when you go for immediate effect, you create long-term anomalies, right? Based on trying to quick fix things that really should take time to do. And that's, what Gough did. And it didn't work out well for the Australian economy there. Anybody who was paying 18% on their home loans back in the day, I'll tell you. But the difference between then and now, what's the difference? I had this conversation with somebody. They go, oh, well, I used to pay 18% interest rates on my mortgage, and it wasn't so bad, right? What's the difference between then and now? Does anybody know? This one will be you. Jace, you'll know this.
What's the context here? I'm missing the context.
Why would it be so much worse now if interest rates continued to skyrocket in comparison to when Gough did it and they went to 18%, and people said, oh, it still wasn't, it was horrible, but it wasn't that bad. They can't do it now because it'll blow everyone up.
Well, as a percentage of people's, it's larger amounts of money being borrowed right now. Yeah.
It was average. I think you said it in one of the sessions I picked up on, like it was 2 times income. Now it's income. 10.
Yeah.
10 times average income. So it's impossible for it to go that far.
Yeah. Average loan was 80K. Now the average loan today, Fenton's about 600.
Wow.
Yeah. 585 or something like that. Yeah.
Does that include the people who don't have loans at all?
No, it's the average new loan right now.
Average new loan.
Yeah.
Interesting statistic.
Now, there's many more that are in the millions, right? Obviously, it depends on where you are. But, if you kick it off right now and you're going to buy a house or even an apartment, and you've got a 10% deposit, just do the math on that one,
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting. It'd be really interesting to see what happens in your world, because it's not just property. Like, as supply chains regulate, costs of goods should come down. Whether the price comes down, completely different story.
Well, I mean, I've asked this question a heap of times, right? Hey, who's going to drop their rents? Nobody's going to drop their rents, mate. And this is the issue. And then who's going to drop their pants on the price that they paid for a property if they don't have to? And nobody's going to. And there's not going to be any pressure. And let me show you in a graph as well. There's not going to be any pressure on people to do that because of these issues. Now, if we have a look at this, Andy, and we talked about, we actually achieved something in around 2014 to around 2016, 17 across Australia. And we achieved something. Now, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but we achieved this because we actually opened up the Australian property market to overseas investors, right? We actually opened it up and go, right, let's go. Australia doesn't have enough money, and it's actually being opened up right now, Andy. So we're going to talk about this for a second. It's actually being opened up again, but it's opened up. Hey?
Do you know what this is called?
Tell me.
It's called expansion capital.
All right. So Australia didn't have enough capital. They needed expansion capital. And where did they get it from? Folks, put it in the chat for me. Put it in the chat right now. Tell me, where do they get the expansion capital from? And I'll give you a cheat. It starts with C. Boom. Julie. By and large, folks, it came from China, right? Now,
where did it come from in the 80s?
Well, where it came from, where did it come from in the 80s? I remember my dad saying this. Oh, we're all going to be Japanese, right? They came from Japan, right, Fenton, right?
Yeah.
I remember my dad saying this. Yep.
That was turning Japanese. Remember when it was like a political satire campaign?
Yeah.
Hilarious. How wrong did they get that? Just
got it wrong badly. Right. So what happened? Fenton, we had some money for the first time in Australia's proper history. We're like, let's build some properties for everyone. Let's get on with it because, Aussies are too tight, right? So then what happened is we got some real estate going, Fenton, which was great. Nothing wrong with that, right? We got some real estate going, right?
Got some teepees to live in.
Well, we got something going. I mean, right now people are living in friggin' tents, right? An okay property is better than no property, right? So then in their wisdom, what did they do? What did they decide to do? Tell me, folks. In 2017, right there, what did they decide to do? In the government's wisdom, did they decide to do? Which is napalm. And this is what I said. I've said this 1,000 times. The problem we have now wasn't caused by COVID. It wasn't caused by COVID. I'm fucking telling you. It wasn't caused by COVID. What happened? What happened in late 2017, 2018, Fenton? What did they do? What did the government say they were going to do? Boom. Starts with A, marks on it. Yep. APRA. Right. So they did two things, right? They said, oh, we don't want your money anymore. They changed the foreign investment policy. And APRA decided that they were going to have an investigation. So we don't want your money. Get out of town, China, right? Or anyone from overseas. And APRA said, you know what, Fenton, financial planners, the banks, mortgage brokers, they're all scumbags. And here's what's going to happen. Check out what happened, folks. Absolute disaster. Who got on the bandwagon? What happened? What happened in 2018 or 19? There was an election. Right? And what happened? What was the drum they were beating? we're going to get rid of, which is fucking, they always say it, but they never
Wasn't it
do.
time
Hey?
for a change?
Time for a
Wasn't it-
change.
It's time for a change.
If we get in, we're going to get rid of negative gearing and we're going to get rid of this capital gains tax bullshit. What was that aimed at? Property. Have a look at what happened. Like this, I've said this so many times. The supply chain in Australia was absolutely destroyed by, and check this out, capital growth. Like, so the rolling average of home city prices, Fenton, the worst reduction in average prices of capital growth in Australia ever since we've been tracking it since 1987, right? Caused by who in 2019? Was that caused by market fundamentals? Was it caused by blah, blah, blah? What was it caused by? It was caused by the government. It's caused by the government. Yep. The politicians getting in the way again. Oh, we'll mess with this. We need to get reelected. All right. So they caused the problem. And Hares right now, then Fenton, they said, oh, we'll fix this. We'll give everyone free money. And what have they done? They gave away free money, and what have they destroyed?
They got a few plasma televisions.
Well, a few people got some. Well, what they've done now is 22 of the largest builders in Australia have collapsed.
22
of the largest builders.
Employed.
23, sorry.
23.
23 of the largest home builders in Australia have collapsed because of that. So they fucked it up here, and then they said, oh, we'll give away free money, and they have no idea about actually supplying things, and they fucked it up there. And nobody's saying anything to them, right? It's like, what? It's like what? And you know what? They're going, oh, you know, we better, Fenton, we better start taxing people because we've got a problem, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into this.
Well, let's get into the number one menace.
Let's get into the number one menace. All right, we better take a breather, a glass of wine, because
I'm going to have a heart attack.
We've got so much to talk about here. Right, let's do this. Of recent times. Anyway,
who do you want to start? Because I can get on a little bit of a roll because I've written it down here on my trusty little thing. But do you want to start off? Get better pouring up. Better get some shots. Going.
Let me start off with this one, Andy, and I'll line you up because I want to line you up on this one, folks.
All right, let's do this.
Let's have a look at this. Not only on the back of the world of property being poleaxed by, you know, politicians doing absolutely dumb as dog shit stuff. Right. Now, check this out. Here's what happened. At the same time, this APRA investigation, ladies and gents, they decided it would be a great idea to target not only mortgage brokers, foreign investors. They decided it would be a great idea, Andy, to target financial planners. Now, both you and I both have a love-hate relationship with financial planners. You're a financial planner as well, right? It was like when
not tonight. Not tonight. I got a different hat on tonight.
Not tonight. But, you know, when you've got a great financial planner, absolutely golden, right? A golden. And to be honest, mate, even an okay financial planner is better than no financial planner, right?
Correct.
Every day of the week. So here's the idea. Andy, tell me, what is the foundational sentence when like in mortgage broking is the same, mortgage broking, financial planning? What's this kind of box that they say, hey, best interest of, tell me, Fenton, best interest of, this is the foundation of who you are as the financial planner, best interest of
the client,
right? Best interest of the client.
It's called
And-
best interest duty.
Yeah.
I will correct something. I will correct. They didn't target advisors. They targeted the banks.
They did. Yeah, the banks. True. Yep.
And as a result, through the vertical integration, they saw that there were bad practices by the banks in the world of advice, and so then they napalmed advice.
A napalm device. Well,
Under bank practices,
yeah.
as you know,
Well, that's kind of like
the Westpac
Andy.
guy up on the stage. He's
Well,
just
that's
like,
kind
this
of
is the
like
worst
having
day
a
of my
garden,
life.
right? That's like having a garden full of flowers and there's a few weeds, so you get out the Roundup and you fucking spray everything, right?
You spray everything, get
Right.
rid of them all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just fucking get in there and pluck it. So, best interest of the client, folks. Tell me this: how is it that targeting an industry / whatever, and today the number of financial planners has decreased from 25,000 to 15,000. And then, by and large, check this out. Where is it here?
Well, mate, I've actually got a bit of a live statistic. It's a bit fuzzy.
Bit
But,
fuzzy. Have you got it?
I'll bring that in there as well.
Yep. The thing is, here we go. Check this out. I just want to just chew on this. In 2017, 3 million Australians received financial advice, and that fell to 1.8 million. How is that in the best interest of the customer? How's that in the best interest?
No.
Like, it's not.
No,
it's not.
And they're trying to fix that, because this is the data. You can see at the top. I'm not sure if I'm still fuzzy, but you might be able to see the blue line at the top. Of the heyday, it was 28,000.
Yeah.
Just recently has dropped to 16,000. So
16,000. Yeah.
Almost half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost half of an industry.
Yeah. I mean, that's ludicrous, right? Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Like, so here's another thing. So right now, ladies and gents, check this one out. Check this one out. And Fenton, I'm going to chuck to you in a minute, give you a bit of warning. Right? Not only did they, and there was a bit of a witch hunt, wasn't it, Fenton? Like, I don't know if you remember, a bit of a witch hunt on this one when it came to, the banks got away with it, like, with a fine. So they did get fined, right? But here's okay, New South Wales revenue. So, folks, like another tax. Here's the number one menace, in play right now. Now, this is a bit technical, so I won't harbor too long on this, Andy. But to say right now, folks, this is as bad, if not worse, for property investors as the APRA thing was in the past. Okay? New South Wales revenue right now is now targeting mortgage brokers. So every mortgage broker in the country, just so everyone knows, understands, has to work with an aggregator. So I don't know, maybe I should draw it like for 30 seconds, Andy. Maybe I should draw it for 30 seconds, right? And I wonder what Boris has got to say about this. He'd dine out on this, right? So how does it work? All right. So we have like lenders, okay? Lenders, aggregators, and mortgage brokers, hundreds of them, okay? Individual, that's terrible. Anyway, I was trying to do it quick. Okay.
That's some of your best work, Jace. I love you. You're a Picasso. It's amazing.
So
I swear one day you're going to wake off minus an ear.
These mortgage brokers are independent business owners, folks. Now, tell me if I'm laboring on too long. Fenton?
So basically, I'm a mortgage broker. I'm Andy Fenton. I'm not really, but just say I am. I'm going to start up a mortgage broking business. I'm going to get 10 of my mates. We're all brokers. We get together. Before you know it, we've built up amazing mortgage broking business, helping thousands of Australians. I've got 10 staff in 10 talents in here on top of the 10 brokers that are there. So we're a team of 20 people, probably helping 1,000 or more people a year get better loans than what they would otherwise.
Yep.
And then I have somebody in that middle line, which is an aggregator.
An
right?
aggregator. Aggregator helps me if I do 5 loans a month, and they all do. The aggregators collect 500 loans a month, and then they report to the lender. This is how it works, folks. Like, a lender doesn't want to deal with one small individual. They want to deal with one big individual. That's how it works, right? So, but what's happening right now, these small independent and anywhere from 2 to 20 people, Andy, in their business, right? Completely independent businesses. Now, New South Wales Revenue has said, you know what? We think you're all employees. You're not independent business owners. This is bullshit. We want 5.45% payroll tax paid by you and or the aggregator. We want to charge you payroll tax because we don't think any of you are actually independent businesses. This is bullshit. Complete and absolute. It's a grotty grab.
It's a grotty grab.
It's a grotty grab thing.
Slippery slope. And
yes.
This is, you and I talk about political ambivalence a lot, right? Yep. And so, ladies and gents on the call today, we should talk about this stuff at barbecues. We should talk about this stuff at the dinner table. Like, we should have healthy conflict about this stuff everywhere, because if you bring back the other graph there, Jace,
which graph?
I call it graph. I will call it the other one. We'll call it I call it abstract expressionism. So again, we talked last week about precedent and law, right? So at the moment they're going mortgage broker. And the impact of this is massive, right? It means that all of a sudden, in my example, I've got a mortgage broking business. There's 20 of my team who all are employed by me within the business, and there's 10 brokers here. They're basically saying we're all part of a larger group. So as a result, all of our wages, let's just say that everyone earns $100,000.
Yeah.
Right. So so that's $1 million. That's $2 million. That's 5.45%. that the government are going to take of $2 million. Do the math. Tell me what it's worth, right? You scribble it down. So that's the money grab part of it. But then think about superannuation, because now it's a salary. Now you're mandated to pay that into salary. What do you think more? It will decimate the industry. It'll blow it up. And at the end of the day, do you know who's worse off?
Clients.
Write down who you think is worse off.
Yep. Put it in the chat.
Who do you think's worse off?
If like in the mortgage, if like in the financial planning industry, we go from 30,000 financial planners to 60,000, 16,000, and let's say, Andy, there was 500 of them who were shithouse and they shouldn't have never been a financial planner in the first place, but the rest of them were, doing their best, and some financial advice is better than no financial advice, right? What's the public are worse off? You're dead right, Julie. Like, what's going to happen when you now go from 30,000 brokers who are representing you independently to 5,000 mortgage brokers, folks? Like, what's going to happen? Because I can tell you right now, like, this is like, it's ludicrous, and it's only beginning right now, Fenton. How many other assaults on this have we seen? Right, we've seen, the Queensland land tax thing. We've got the windfall tax thing. Do your list, man.
I've listed it.
Your list.
Let's just bring the both of us up. So let me know whether you want to hear this. Do you want the big list? Put it in the chat. Just put a Y in the chat if you want
of
the big list.
recent times, and that's
Like
of
this.
like, let's say within 12 months.
And it's not comprehensive. I'm sure there's more. But this is just what we thought of. Who'd like the big list? Put a Y in the chat if you'd like the big list. I can't see the chat. Julie's saying yes.
Yeah, we've got Alison, we've got Julie. At least a couple of people are interested in finding out what's going on. Come on, folks.
All right, this is unbelievable.
Bring it home, Fenton. Bring it home.
All right, number one. Victorian government trying to get through windfall tax. Windfall tax, in short, is them taxing rezoning of land. When they rezone land, they're going to tax you. What are they going to tax you? They're going to tax you, I think it was 62%.
Between 50 and 62%, Fenton.
50 and 62%. And if you can't afford to pay it, they'll give you a loan at like 6 or 7% for 10 or 15 years.
No, 11%, Fenton. 11%.
I haven't got anyway. So windfall tax, they rezone your land, and then you have to pay them tax in the highest possible threshold, not linked to your MTR, marginal tax rate. So windfall tax, number one. Right. Number two, and so this is just in the last 12 months. Number one, windfall.
But hang on, you're not in charge of the rezone. They're in charge. No. So if they want more taxes, they'll just rezone some things.
They'll just rezone shit. They'll just rezone. How do we make more money? Well, firstly, we bring in a tax. What's the tax called? It's called windfall tax. That's a smart name. Why are you calling it windfall tax? Well, because when we do what we should have done
a windfall
5 years ago and actually rezone land so we can have enough houses for people, then every time we rezone it, we get 50% of the profit. That's amazing. Is it legal? I don't think it is now. Oh, that's not good. Let's just change the law. Perfect. Done. Windfall tax. It's a windfall tax. Brilliant. You know, you're a brilliant mind. Does it need to be legal? No, because we can change the laws. So windfall tax, unbelievable. Number one. Super tax. My God. Like we've said for so many years, if you want people to invest in super, stop touching it like a 2-year-old boy. Like, Jesus, keep your hands off it, right? They brought in, and it's everywhere now. They want to tax, and the implications of this, astronomical. So windfall tax. Who wins? Just who wins?
The
government wins. Who loses? You lose.
You do. We do.
And here's the thing. Right now, everyone's going, oh, but it's only for what? They're pushing all this through. It's only for, it starts with an R. It's only for
rich people. It's only for rich people, Fenton. It's only for rich people. It's not just for rich people.
Right,
for everyone.
So, it's gonna happen. Second one, superannuation. All right. So we've already changed the tax on superannuation multiple times over the years. But now it's starting to work. So this is the thing, isn't it, Jace? Now it's starting to work. Now superannuation is actually starting to work for the right reasons. What should we do? I think we should fuck it up. Why? So we can make more money. Brilliant. I love it. Did you just say more money? Yep. Okay. What do we do?
But hang on. There's another tax, which is a hidden tax. You know what we should do, Fenton? We should change it from 9 to 9.5 and eventually 12%. We should make people put more into super so we can tax more of it. Right,
and we can guarantee the tax on the other end.
It's
brilliant. It's brilliant. We got both ends covered. It's amazing. it's like both ends covered. Yeah. Sounds great, doesn't it? Where's your mind at? Probably at a different place than yours. It's dirty either way, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's very, very dirty. Superannuation tax balances over $3 million. Will they index it? Don't know. But here's the thing: in 10 years' time, you might need $3 million there. Right. So here's the thing. They're changing the laws now. Not only in that, oh, my God, we're going to do a whole episode on that. So $3 million. They want to tax that. They're already putting plans in place to try and bring this in. What did they do earlier on? Jason and I had a big field day on it. Every business owner is affected by it. Even the government's affected by it, or the what do you call them? Wankers. That's not the technical term. It's not the definition. So they want to change. They want to change the rules around trusts and trust distributions.
Oh, mate.
It's like, you know what, Chase? What's one of the oldest legislations that's ever been around, ever? What is it?
Mate, it's the tax laws. Like it's trust
laws, isn't it?
It's trust laws. Trust laws. Sorry, yeah.
Well, hang on. Why did we get rid of Johnny Howard? Why did we get rid of? He'd been there too long. It didn't it? It was like you wouldn't have worn. I love the campaigns, right? You wouldn't have worn underwear for 6 years. Why have we got Johnny in here for 6 years? It's like, are you freaking serious? It's like you wouldn't have worn underwear. It's not even the same. Anyway, it's longer than 6 years. Trust law, some of the oldest law available in Anglo law, goes right back to before Australia was
It goes
founded.
way back to English common law anyway. It goes way back to common law, yeah.
Yeah, way back, way. So, you know what? Let's have a crack at that. Let's change how that's run. Why? Because we can make money out of it. Brilliant. Is it legal? Oh, how do we make it legal? Oh, we'll revisit it and we'll say that we've got a different take on it now. Brilliant. Gold. Amazing.
It's only been this way for 200 years, but you know, at the moment, we think it's different. All right, here we go. All right.
So
all right.
we've finally gone. I think we think that it's different. Brilliant. So trust. We're going to try and catch people out on trusts. And you know what? Because Chase, I reckon that people will be smart enough to change what they do in the future in their trusts. I know how we'll make money. We'll make it retrospective. Yeah, we'll go backwards in time and penalise people for doing that based on a decision we made today. That's gold. How do you think of that stuff? Like, you're a genius. You are literally a genius. It just comes to me. Who wins?
Who wins? Who wins, folks? Not us. Yep.
Who loses?
Yep.
But that's okay because that's law.
Best interest, Fenton. Best interest. Yep.
Don't even get me started on that. I had a trustee once basically say I don't have to act on the best interests of my clients because I'm the trustee. Oh my God. All right. So next one.
Go.
As a part of the 3 million, we might have a look at franking credits again. That's been on the agenda for a little while.
Yeah.
So let's create the Australia's first double tax, shall we? We've never done that before. That's not a reason that we shouldn't do it.
But hang on, Fenton, isn't that illegal?
But that's not, yes, the Tax Act specifically states no double tax.
No double tax.
Well, let's figure out a way around it. How do we get around it? I don't know. That's for tomorrow. We'll figure that part out. It's back on the agenda. Wow, as a part of the 3 million tax on super. And this is why we've got to be so careful with legislation and allowing this to go through. I'm being sarcastic at the moment. I'm taking liberties, and I'm going to continue to do it in a minute. But this is the reason why we need to take this stuff seriously. It's not for rich people. This is for everyone, and it creates precedents that will roll down. I promise you, if you've got kids that you care about, you should care about this stuff, and you should be speaking to your local member, hello, and complaining. You're not doing a good job.
Look, keep moving on, Fenton.
So payroll tax on aggregation. Right? Payroll tax on aggregation. So here's the thing, a precedent, right? So what's to stop that? No, I'll come back to that later. What did we dine out on a little while ago? Oh, you're not going to have enough room, Jace.
Mate, I'm writing a few down. Keep going. I've got space for 10. I've got space for 10.
I'm going to get there. You might have to help me out. Land tax for Queensland didn't get up.
Land tax
because the member was a bit limp. Didn't get up.
The Queenslanders tried to do the land tax grab, and on the flip side, it
came up against strong opposition.
Yeah, the rest of the country's like, nah, you can rack off. But then Victoria goes, hey, listen, you lot, I'll have a crack at windfall tax. And then what's New South Wales having a go at, Fenton, right?
Stamp duty. That's my final one.
Stamp duty.
Wow.
Right.
Unbelievable. I'm just, and in every single scenario here, it's being pitched as it only affects the rich. It doesn't. It affects everyone. And here's the thing about legislation is that when it starts here, it cascades down and it creates precedents. Let me show you what I mean by this. And so this is where, and this is not where it's necessarily going, but this is the potential of legislation being dropped like this aggregation legislation, right? So let's just go big business. And I'm going to put up here because it's in purple. I'm going to say this is Anytime Fitness. FIT, Anytime Fitness. That's a purple branding, right? Now, Anytime Fitness, big business. Anytime is the big company. Now, the big company then operates down here. And these are the kind of like aggregation, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
Agree? And in here, we call these what? Franchises.
Yeah.
Hopefully I spelt that right. Right. And then we've got, Mornington, Mount Martha. We've got hundreds of these around Australia, thousands, employing hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And my key point here is employing hundreds of thousands of people. So you bring in, now it hasn't been brought in, right? But I'm speculating here. This isn't fact, right? Don't go and shoot anybody. But this is the potential sort of flow of this stuff. They go, well, these are at the moment, this is the bank. This is the aggregator.
Yep.
And these are the brokers.
It's the same
and
thing.
you are down here and you're fucking happy at the moment because you're happy because this provides a really good environment for you to get cheap gym membership, 24 hours a day. Or it allows you to be able to select what is the best mortgage for you, the best rates, the best deals, all of that sort of stuff. This, in my view, this is almost like socialist behavior. This is it. I reckon in a different era, Jace, if this was back in the days of Vietnam War, somebody would call you a commie and strap handcuffs on you and send you to jail for talking like this over in America. And this is the sort of stuff that's going on around here. And I know we're just talking about aggregators and brokers at the moment, but it doesn't end there. It's like it opens a doorway. Every time legislation's passed, you know what we should do, Jace? We should have a watch party, one Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, where we can't necessarily do it. We should replay Kerry Packer's House of Reps inquiry. Yes. So everyone can listen to it. Public knowledge, public domain. Yep. And he says in there, every time you pass a new law and don't repeal an old one, you take somebody's rights away. Right? And that's exactly what happens with all of these, but it then creates a precedent that then cascades down. And you go, it only affects rich people. Maybe today, tomorrow, it's created a great precedent to operate and be able to cascade down, because then whenever the purse is empty, you go, well, where are we going to shake? What are we going to shake this time in order to get more?
I mean, dead right, Fenton, because there's no clarity around that super change to do with indexation, right? So, everyone,
no clarity on indexation, no clarity on any of it, really.
And I don't know, Fenton, I don't know if there's been any tax that's been removed, irrelevant of who put it in place once the new party gets in. So
why would you?
Maybe that's an interesting, here, let's remove this tax and put a hole in our budget, right? So interesting, irrelevant of who gets the tax in, folks. Everybody in the future, if it's 20 years or 30 years, Andy, like you said, it's going to be our children who are going to end up with this problem. Maybe not you, mate, maybe you or I, because we're going to live long enough. But
mate, this will hurt all of us in our lifetimes. Yep. These things that we put down here, and I reckon a lot of them won't get up. But don't allow the pain to be so aggressive in the future that you'd wished you had been more proactive in the past.
Well, and this is the thing. It only affects 88,000 rich people, folks. What's your problem, right? That's
in the biggest wealth transition in that Australia has ever seen.
4.5 million people, the largest amount of wealth ever in Australia's history to be transferred to transition in the next 10 years.
Pay attention, 100%. Like you fast forward this 10 years and you'll have a new Jason and Andy, some probably very handsome kids, some very handsome kids, not so much grey, who are probably going, how did these bastards allow this to happen?
How did it happen?
How did they allow it to happen?
Why did they?
And they're going to be sitting at you, and they're going to be looking, and Jason and I are going to be saying, well, look, we did our best.
We did our best.
We tried to rattle a tin and get people.
We let everyone know. Maybe we didn't take it seriously enough. Gee, I tell you. So, folks, it's certainly something we all need to be proactive about, Fenton, doesn't it?
Pay attention to, because here's the thing: most of this isn't in the news.
No, it's not.
Most of this you're not seeing. Like you have to look to find some every like 3 million in super. Yep, that hit the headlines. Try and get information on it.
Try and find it. Well, check this out. This is interesting. Right now, if you go and search land tax, right, this is still the number. Oh, this is still the number one. Hang on, I can do this over here. This is still the number one search in Queensland, according to online searches, which a lot of people see as actually fact. Right? It's still the land tax change that's actually been ditched is still up there as a headline. Like, I was like, what? And stamp duty in New South Wales, basically, first home buyers are going to get a chance to pay their stamp duty as they go, Fenton, rather than in one lump sum. Now, I hate stamp duty. Guess what? Tell me, folks. We do have to probably finish up in a second, but I'll finish with this one right now. Tell me what tax came in that was meant to eliminate stamp duty. Fenton, you already know the answer to this. Tell me in the chat, folks, what tax came in, and we're like, no, if we get this one up, then we'll get rid of stamp duty. What was it, folks? Put that in the chat. Put that in the chat. They were meant to get rid of stamp duty. Yeah, talk about, boom, GST. Alison, exactly. There you go. Let's get rid of stamp duty. But now what they're doing, Fenton, is they're going, oh, we'll do you a favour. We'll do you a favour, and you can pay your stamp duty yearly for the rest of your life rather than one lump sum. And they're like, what? Now they're just going, we're doing you a favour so you can pay stamp duty for the rest of your life. What the fuck? Like, seriously, folks.
And this is, again, like these are almost socialist types of concepts.
Crazy shit going on.
So I love this. This was in the Fin review. It confused me, Jace. I'll just read it. It's like, why $3 million super balances face 22% tax rate, not 30%? So this is them going, let's bring some clarity to the situation. We're not doubling the tax. All right. I can't even get a straight face when I do this. The effective tax rate by superannuants with more than $3 million in their accounts will be about 22% due to their franking credits and capital gains tax discounts. Well, hang on. Franking credits implies that you're actually investing in shares. Capital gains tax discounts assumes that you're actually selling something.
Making a sale. Yeah, exactly. So if you're living off the income, it's still 30%.
So I'm confused. Below 30% headline rate. I'm like, what? Hang on. What happens if I'm in term deposits? 30%. Oh, but you just said 22. So's your face. So let's keep going. Unrealized gains, such as increase in market value of shares that have not been sold, will also be captured by a new tax. A new tax on shit. Oh, so a capital gain. Have I got anything? Well, no, you haven't.
But hang on, Fenton. You've made money, haven't you?
Well, not really. I've got it on the roulette table. It looks like it's going to make money, but has it? No. So have I gained anything? No. Can we tax it? Yeah, 100%. We'll tax it.
But Andy, if it goes down in value, can I get a refund?
That's a bloody good question, isn't it? I haven't read anything about being able to claim the losses back.
Anyway.
Finishes off to say, large superannuation balances will face. This is my favorite part, Jace. Large superannuation balances will face, cop this, a tiered tax system from July 2025, incorporating existing rules. Incorporating existing rules. Like, what? There's no. Okay. Last sentence, nonsensical. I'm assuming it's a typo. Happens from time to time. But a tiered tax system to superannuation. Who wins? Well, I'm pretty sure one of my professions is going to win because I have no idea how they're going to actually bring this out. No idea. Jason, it was less than 10 years ago. The government came out and said, if we want people to pay for their own retirement, they have to understand super. So they changed their laws and they created the simple super system, right? It was pretty fucking complex, but they did simplify it a lot. They got rid of things like
But that's a good
reasonable.
name, though, Fenton. That's a really good name.
Look,
Yeah.
they had a crack. They did a pretty good job, to be fair, because before that we had reasonable benefit limits and all of this stuff. And I was an expert in it back in that day. And like literally half of what I knew became obsolete overnight with the change in the laws. And like all of a sudden I'm not so smart anymore. I'm just a historian who used to tell people how fucked things used to be. But now they're placing this, and I look at that and I just go, oh, happy days for advice, ladies and gentlemen. There will be no more. And what's happened? They've culled the amount of advisors in the industry. They're creating such complexity that there will be massive amounts of need for it. Where's it going to be? It's going to be above 3 million. Do you need advice? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. But can you get it? No, you can't. Why? Because everyone's servicing the people who are trying to figure out how the fuck the 3 million system works. And this is another example of how this short-term tactics. Mate, I'm flabbergasted by it. I urge everyone to pay attention to this because this isn't rich tax. These aren't rich laws. To me, I've never in my entire life seen this much movement and attacking a tax system. I've never seen it, Jace. Not in my entire life. I've never seen these many radical moves.
And it's at all layers, Andy. So it's not only at federal level, it's at state level as well, right? So
it's a skirmish.
Yep. So team, folks, we probably will call it right there. But I'm telling you right now, it just goes to show why, Andy, that people should, number one, pay attention. And number two, understand how to manage, control their own wealth without, letting others be in charge or in control of it. So, really at the end of the day,
it's never been more important to pay
never
attention.
been more important. Yeah.
And look, you should honestly, you should share this link with everybody that you know, outside of politicians and people at ASIC and just joking. But you should share it because ultimately we need to create more awareness around this piece because it does affect our children and it will affect us, like all of you, in some way, shape or form, because the ramifications of people not being able to fund their own retirement in a declining population, which we do have in Australia, means that the taxes will naturally rise on the other end. So our kids might face taxes that we've never even seen.
Yeah. Talk about like, okay, not only, potentially an environmental issue that we need to deal with, but also a financial issue that we'll be leaving behind for, future generations. Not acceptable. So, mate, there you go, mate. I reckon we could wrap it on for passionately for another hour at least, folks. But tonight we're not going to do that. But the takeaway, Fenton, pay attention, team, and make sure you get ahead of it with strategies and tactics. And, you've got to continue to play the game because we can't check out unless you're going to sell it all and become a monk and live in a cave. So there's ways and means to do that. You never know. Fenton and I might just bugger it. We'll get out of here. Anyway, folks, that's it. Fenton, I think let's call it.
Put a cork in it.
Hey,
mate, well, it's been awesome hanging out with you again. I must admit I was a bit shattered coming into the end of this week, but getting a chance to kind of have this conversation has really brought a smile to my face. It inspired me to be better as well. And mate, thank you. It was a great night tonight. Really appreciate it.
Well, mate, great to hang out with you also, brother. As always, folks, thanks for joining us. And last but not least, I think it's a good night from me, Fenton.
And it's a good night from him. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a thing, folks.
We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Debrief the week with Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Every Friday at 5 p.m. Victoria and New South Wales time. We know that Queensland, South Australia, WA have different time zones, as does Darwin, but we're sure that you can do the calculations, depending on whether it's daylight savings or not.
You can also catch up on all the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out the Positive Mentor podcast from our 6-star team at positivementor.com.au.